We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Vav and Beis in Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 56b. The Gemara begins here with a brisa. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brisa, Hamarabe Sa'ir. When a person turns a city into a square, let's say you have a circular city, you're supposed to draw a square around it. Oso sakim in tabla merubas, you make a square around it. V'chozer umarabe es hatchumen, and then you also have a square tchum because you got to add 2,000 amos in every direction, but that should also be square. V'yosin oson kimin tabla merubas, that also is like a square tablet. But when he measures, he should not measure from the middle of the corner the 2,000 amos. Then he's going to lose out on the corners. What he does instead is he takes a tablet which is 2,000 amos by 2,000 amos, and he puts it in the corner to create the diagonal. It comes out that the city, by drawing the square, you gain 400 amos in every direction. Nimtzu techumin mistakran ches meos amos lakan ushmona meos lakan, and then the tchum is going to gain 800 amos in every direction. Nimtzu ha'ir utchumin, and it comes out that if you calculate the entire extra space of the diagonal, mistakran Elef umasayim lakan, that's going to be 1,200 in one direction, the elef umasayim lakan, and 1,200 in the other direction. In other words, the situation would be as follows. Let's say you have the original city was this circle, and let's assume for a moment that this circle was exactly 2,000 amos. So if the circle was exactly 2,000 amos, so then that means the diameter here is 2,000 amos. So now we draw a square around this circle, so that's going to be sides of 2,000 amos here, 2,000 amos here. Now, if you do the math, if you would have a square which is 2,000 amos sides, so the diagonal over here is going to be around close to 3,000 amos. It's going to be a little bit longer. So if it's 3,000 amos and you divide out, it's not exactly, it's a little less than 3,000 amos. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So you do the math, it's going to come out that from this point until the corner is about 400 amos. And from this point to the corner is about 400 amos. Basically, it's a total here of 2,800 amos. Close to, like I said, close to 3,000 amos. So that's what it means in the Gemara when it says you gain 400 amos. Now, what they're talking about the corners over here, now you're going to draw 2,000 amos in this direction, that's your tchum. 2,000 amos this direction, that's your tchum, that's fine. But what do you do in the corner? So for the corner, you make a square with, again, sides that are all 2,000 amos. And once again, if all of these sides are 2,000 amos, here you're going to gain a whole lot. As we just said, you're going to gain 800 amos, because we just noted that if it's 2,000 amos over here, it's close to 3,000 amos over here. It's basically about 2,800 amos. So you gain 800 amos here, you gain 800 amos on this side. So now if you do the total math, you've got 800 plus 400 is 1,200, and then again 400 plus 800 is 1,200. That's what the Gemara means when they say that you're gaining into the corners 1,200 amos in both directions. And the Gemara finishes, Amar Abaya, Abaya says, Umashkach asla, this entire thing is found, B'masa dahav trei alfe, in a city which was a diameter of 2,000 amos. That's exactly what we said over here. The city is 2,000 amos diameter. He's calling that 2,000 by 2,000 because when you draw the square around it, it's 2,000 by 2,000. And again, all the math as we said before. The Gemara continues now with the brisa. Tanya, we learned in a brisa. Amar Rabbi Eliezer b'Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Eliezer b'Rabbi Yossi says, Tchum orei Leviim alpayim amo. Again, the tchum around the cities of the Leviim was 2,000 amos. Sei mehen elef amma migrash. Now, 1,000 amos of that was just open space. Nimtza migrash revia. It comes out that the migrash is a quarter. Now that is going to be a big discussion. What in the world does that mean, that the migrash is 1 quarter? 1 quarter of what? V'hashar sadu suchramim. And the rest of the area that wasn't open space, that's all going to be fields and vineyards. Again, that was the way that they designed the cities of the Leviim. That's all learned out from Sukkim, as the Gemara will now say. Minohani mili, where do we know this from? Amar Rava says, Damar Kra, because the pasuk says, Mikir ha'ir v'chutza elef amos saviv. It says from the wall of the city, outside of it, provide 1,000 amos. Amra Torah, what the Torah is saying is, Savei v'sa'ir be'elef. You have to surround the city with 1,000. Rashi over here explains, Minohan imili, where do we know the migrash elafama, that the open space was 1,000 amos, mikir ha'ir, because again it said from the wall of the city, reisha dekra. If you look at the beginning of that pasuk, what does it say? It says, umigrash ha'arim asher titnu. The migrash ha'arim, the open space of the cities, here is how you place them. So now the Gemara returns to what the Brisa said, nimtza migrash ravia. The migrash comes out to be 1/4. Ravia, it's a quarter. Palgav, it's a half. Meaning, the Gemara now thinks it's half of the tchum. If the tchum is 2,000 amos around the city, and the migrash, the open area, the empty area, is going to be 1,000 amos, that's half. So the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Bar Ada mishucha sabrali. Bar Ada was like a surveyor. He explained to me how to make this a quarter. Mashkanchas lo b'masa, to have a trei alfe. Take a city which is 2,000 by 2,000. Basically a city like we have right here in the picture. So if you take such a city, tchum kamahava, so how much is the tchum? Shitzar, so it's going to be 16. And what does he mean by 16? What he means is 16 squares of 1,000 amos by 1,000 amos. So let's take, for example, over here. Right over here you have a square of 2,000 amos by 2,000 amos. If you divided this into quarters, you would have 4 areas of 1,000 amos by 1,000 amos. That's 4. Now, don't count the corners. We're going to go back to the corners. So this is 1 tchum. This is a 2nd tchum. This is a 3rd tchum. And this is a 4th tchum. So each one of these has 4 squares of 1,000 amos. That is 16 1,000 by 1,000 amos squares. That is what he means by 16. You have 16 of these boxes surrounding the area, not counting these corner boxes. We're going to get back to the corners in a second. Kronos kamahava. How many corner 1,000 by 1,000 areas do you have? Kamahavan, how many are there? Shitzar, there's another 16. That's obvious too, because this is 2,000 by 2,000. This is 2,000 by 2,000. You have 4 of these quadrants, and they're all exactly the same as the other quadrants we just measured. Divide all of these up into 4. So if you divide this into 4, and again, all of these, you're going to have 16 more quadrants. So the total amount is basically 16 plus 16. That is 32 quadrants of 1,000 by 1,000 amos. That's the 32. So Kronos Kamahav and Shitzar. So now Dal Tamanya de Tchumen. Now subtract 8 that belong to the Tchum. V'arba de Kronos, and subtract 4 of the Kronos. Why are we subtracting? Very simple. Because again, the open area is 1,000, is always the first 1,000 only. So for example, on this side, the open area is going to be 1,000 by 2,000. Right? And that's going to be your open area. And this next area is not going to be the open area. This is also going to be 1,000 by 2,000. So what they're saying is subtract all the outer areas, which is this shadowed area right over here. Subtract all these areas of 1,000 by 2,000. So what you're going to have is like this. You're going to separate this one. You're taking out 2 quadrants over here. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 total quadrants being taken out on the tchum side. Now on this side, it's not actually going to be 8. You're actually going to do even more than that, because you're only going to have this much is going to be the 1,000 by 1,000, and you're actually going to have 3 quadrants that you're going to remove on this area. 3, so it's 3 times 4 is 12. So you're going to remove 8 quadrants in the tchum areas, and you're going to remove 3 quadrants in the corners, because you only have 1 corner to be 1,000 by 1,000. If you drew it, here's your let's imagine your 1,000 by 1,000. Your 1,000 runs over here, so it's going to run this way. Cut right across here, cut over here, cut right across there. So in the tchum areas, the non-corners, half of it is going to be open area, half of it is going to be sada sukramim. But in the corner areas, only 1/4 is going to be open, and the other 3/4 are going to be sada sukramim. That's what the Gemara is saying with that. So the Gemara says, again over here, dal tamanya de tchumen, take out 8 from the tchum. That's 8 quadrants get removed because those are not open areas. V'arba de kronos, and 4 of the kronos are going to be your open area, because all the rest is not. So kama have a tracer. That's 8 plus 4 is only 12. You've got, again, this area of open space. You've got 8 over here, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 9 at one corner, 10 at the other, 11, 12. That's a total of 12. 12 out of 32. That's what the Gemara is now saying. So nimtza, so the kama have a tracer is 12. Nimtza migrash ravia. So the Gemara says 12 out of 32, it says it's a quarter. That's not 12 out of 32 is not a quarter. Tvei mitilsaninu. Actually, that's more than a third. 12 out of 32. 12 out of 36 would be a third. 12 out of 32 is actually more than a third, so that still doesn't work out the math. So the Gemara now says, I see arba demasa. Well, let's take the 4 quadrants that are in the city itself. The city itself is again 2,000 by 2,000. That divides up into 4 quadrants. So that's now 30. That's going to be 32 plus 4. So you're actually now at 36. Now 36 is still not going to help us. It's still a third. So the Gemara says, so I see our bod the masa shadi alayo. Let's add the 4 quadrants in the city itself. Akati tilsahave, but still it's 1/3. You've got 12 quadrants of open space out of, you've now got 36 other quadrants, out of a total of 36 quadrants. So the Gemara says, Misavr b'ribua kamar, 1 second. The city was not a square. The city was bi'igula kamar. The city was a circle. So actually, in truth, the city was really a circle like this. So in reality, the city is really not that large. You have to subtract a little bit. So the Gemara says, Kama meruba yeser al ha'igul. How much is a square more than a circle? Meaning how much larger is a square than a circle? Revi, it's about a quarter larger. Now what they mean by revi, it's a quarter larger, what they mean is as follows. Here, you've got, let's say this square is, let's imagine this square was 1 by 1. So if it's 1 by 1, the diameter would be 1 times 4 of the square. The diameter is the area of the surrounding area. What we mean, the diameter of the square is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That would be 4. But now the circumference of the circle, right? If you would take the diameter, take the circumference, that's pi d, which we assume pi is 3. So 3 times 1 is actually 3. So the circumference of the circle is 3. But if you take the length of all the lines around the square, that's 4. That's what they mean to say, that it's 4. How much is it more? It's a quarter more, because 1/4 of 4 is 1. So do 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, so that's the difference between a square. When you draw a square around a circle, it is a quarter larger. So kama meruba yeser ala yigol, how much is the square larger than the circle? Revia, it's actually a quarter. So now dal revia minayu, you have to actually subtract a quarter from the 12, because we had 12 quadrants over here. We assumed that if you had 1,000 by 1,000, you'd have 12 quadrants. But in reality, you're drawing it as a circle around the circle. So you actually have to subtract a little bit, because the migrush, the open area, does not get drawn as a square. Even though your tchum gets drawn as a square, even though your city for the tchum purposes gets drawn up as a square, but the migrush area is actually just a circle. So take that same 4 quadrants of 1,000 by 1,000, that same, I should say, 12 quadrants of 1,000 by 1,000 each, which we're surrounding here. There's 1,000 area around, and now circle it. Now you got to subtract a quarter. How much is when you subtract a quarter, how much is it? Pashulu tisha. That's only going to be 9. Why is that 9? Because if you take a quarter of 12, that's 3. 12 minus 3 is 9. That's the estimate of what a circle is less than a square. Now, vitisha, mitlas, and vishisa, so 9 out of 36, because again, we've now reduced it from 12 quadrants to 9 quadrants, and the total amount of quadrants is 36 quadrants, riva hava. That comes out to a quarter. So that is Rava's long answer that he got from Bar Ada, who was a surveyor. He came out to explain to us how it is that the migrush is 1/4. What is it 1/4 of? Just to summarize it, the migrush ends up being 1/4 of this entire area. If you take this entire area, you get 36 quadrants of 1,000 by 1,000, and this basically, this open area becomes 9 quadrants. 9 out of 36 is 1/4. There's going to be other answers to this question. Abaya says, Mashkachas lo nami b'masa davi alpha ba'alpha. Let's take a city that's 1,000 by 1,000. The example we just had is 2,000 by 2,000. We can do it by 1,000 by 1,000. Tchumen kamahava. So how many quadrants of tchum do you have? You have tmanya. In that situation, you have only 8 quadrants. Kronos kama aveshitzar. And how many quadrants do you have of corner? You have 16 quadrants of corner. Now, in this case, because of the fact that this is just 1,000 in this particular case, so this is no longer 2,000 by 2,000. This is actually 2,000. That is 2,000, but this is only 1,000. So now to break it up into 1,000 by 1,000, just divide it in half. So here you're only going to have 2 quadrants of 1,000 by 1,000, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8. That's why it's 8. Now in the corners, you're going to have 16, because in the corners, you're going to, again, in this particular situation, this part is still 2,000 by 2,000. That's the difference. When you're measuring this area here, it's going to be 2,000, but just by 1,000, it's a smaller city. Here, the smaller city doesn't matter in the corner. It's going to be 2,000 by 2,000. So here, you're actually going to have kama aveshitzar. You're going to have 16 quadrants. So at this point, you've got 16 quadrants total, because it's 4, 4, 4, and 4 in the corner, so 16 in the corner. And you've got 8 around the sides. So you have 16 plus 8. You're actually going to have 24. And then we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph.